Hello and welcome back to The Give and Go. I'm your co-host Reynoso, here with my boy.
I am Soltero. What is up, guys?
We're going to talk about Japan today, man. Japan is back at the World Cup, and what's crazy about them is that they didn't make their first World Cup appearance until 1998.
Okay.
So they took a long time to get to qualification, but once they qualified for their first World Cup, they have qualified for every single World Cup since, becoming one of the most consistent Asian sides in terms of qualifying to this tournament. And they have such an interesting pattern when it comes to what they do at the World Cup. It goes group stage, exit, round of 16 exit. Group stage exit, round of 16 exit. And can you guess where we're at now? If you're looking at that pattern, bro, 2022 expects Japan to have a group stage exit because they just came off of a round of 16 exit.
What if the bookies take that into account?
I think you low-key have to, bro.
You might
it's
have
a
to.
genuine pattern that's been happening for over 20 years. Yeah. That has to mean something, bro. In 2018, man, they had their best opportunity to make it to the quarterfinals after they went up 2-0 on Belgium, bro. And that game ended up being, honestly, one of the most dramatic, but also one of the best games at the World Cup, bro.
Oh, yeah.
Because regardless of Japan choking and losing that lead, Belgium went off, bro. They went off. I remember that third goal was one of the most beautiful counter-attacking goals I've seen in the last minute of the game that ended with Romelu Lukaku having this beautiful dummy on the ball, falling at the feet of I don't remember, but a Belgian player putting it into the back of the net and Belgium celebrating that appearance, man. It was an incredible thing to see. But likewise, the Japanese went out with their heads down because, bro, they were up 2-0 with at the 60th minute, man. I mean, I got to know, any viewers from Japan, what is the thoughts on that performance? How do people feel about it? Are you guys proud or are you a little disappointed about how that went out?
I remember watching it, and I was so disappointed because I was like, yes, Japan surprising me even. I was like, this is exactly what I wanted. 2-0 on Belgium, bro. 2, not 1-2. And then, yeah, as you just said, calamity ensued. And Japan just chose not to defend, essentially. Even in that last goal they conceded to lose 3-2, it was off a corner kick when Japan had it offensively, and they sent like 9 players forward. I'm like, get some coverage. Like, at least take it into extra time. I don't know. Maybe they're just going for the killer punch.
But it's just like, you can't let De Bruyne be in a position to start looking,
right,
get his head up and start looking for options because he had the ball for like a good 5 seconds. And once you saw that, you're like, shit.
Yeah.
He's going to feed the perfect pass. And from there, this Belgian attack can just take care of business. Japan moves on from that. And they have a good qualifying campaign, getting second in Group B with 22 points, 7 wins, 1 draw, 2 losses, falling in second, just short of first place Saudi Arabia. Japan's back. They continue that consistency, that progression, and they will be drawn into Group E, where they face off against a mighty Spanish team, a dangerous German side, and a pretty weak Costa Rican team. I mentioned it before. I do think there has been a lot of progression happening amongst AFC teams. Saudi Arabia, South Korea, Iran, and now Japan. I think there's been a lot of good development happening in that confederation, and I do want to give them credit for it. What's so funny, though, is that most of these teams have been drawn into really, really tough groups. So we might not actually be able to see that development unfold. But if you look at these teams on paper, man, a lot of players from these Asian sides are now playing in Europe, playing in the top 5 league. And that in itself is huge, bro, because for the past 20 years, we haven't really been able to say that. But now leading up to Qatar, so much more is happening, so much more development we're seeing across the whole board of Asian teams. So I want to give them credit for that. I want to look into this Japanese team and see if maybe, despite them having a really tough group, maybe they have the talent that is able to finally go up against a European powerhouse.
Yeah, man. On that note of Japan's progression, I low-key thought it was going to happen 6 years ago, to be completely honest. I remember watching Japan in 2010, where they actually had a really good run in the World Cup, where realistically, they were the inferior team pretty much every time they went out against their opponents, but they played really good football. You know, they fought to the very end and never really got blown out. That Japan team was really good, and so in 2010, I thought, okay, they can take this core of players, take these talents, add in new ones, and have a really successful 2014. They kind of started off with that notion. In 2011, they won the AFC Cup, so they were champions of Asia just a year after having a very good World Cup run. And I was like, perfect. this is exactly what I wanted to see. Let's keep building this Japanese squad to true contenders against European opposition. So going into 2014, bro, Japan was on fire, dominating in their qualification cycle. And when they were pit in their group against Ivory Coast, Colombia, and Greece, I was like, perfect. Japan can get out of this group, because other than Colombia, I saw Greece and Ivory Coast as very shaky, inconsistent teams. But what happened, bro? They underwhelmed in Brazil, bro. Completely. They didn't do shit. And it sucked because I was so high on them. Similarly as high on them as I was like Costa Rica, just the Asian version. Costa Rica was my CONCACAF jewel. Japan was my Asian jewel. And they completely let me down from that perspective, man, because, dude, they did not show up. I actually think they finished last. Either that or it was neck and neck with them and Ivory Coast, but it was just a really sad and poor performance from Japan in 2014. I'm like, I guess they just couldn't do it. Like, they actually can't play against these European type of players, or at least these European type of teams. And so I was just like, shit, I guess there's just a lot more work to be done. Mm-hmm. And so in the build-up to 2018, it was kind of similar in the sense that they did not win in 2015 the Asian Cup. And I actually thought they were worse in 2014. I was not high on Japan at all in 2018. And they actually ended up surprising me a little bit. You know, obviously, we just talked about what they were able to do against Belgium, nearly beating them. But in the group stage, I thought they were just solid. You know, I didn't think they actually even had a chance against Belgium, to be completely honest. I saw a decent Japan side in the group stage, but that was pretty much it. Honestly, they may have overachieved in that Belgium game for like a good 70 minutes. Yeah. That's probably what happened. And so after that, I was just like, I don't see this Japan team doing much else. I don't see how they can level up, essentially. How can they take these players and just make them better? They didn't really have a big crop of teenagers or young 20, 21-year-olds coming through the ranks to make an immediate impact. So I was just like, what does Japan have to do to really push themselves to be able to compete against European opposition? And the thing is, bro, this World Cup qualification cycle started off a little weird too for Japan. It really did. But at the end of the day, they finished strong. And that gets me a little excited. Yes, maybe I'm a little frustrated from all the years past, but there is something different about this Japan side. And what's crazy is that we actually covered this, bro, like almost a year ago.
What did we say?
When we were talking about World Cup qualifiers in general.
Yeah.
And we saw Japan as not the Japan of old where they had to rely on 2 or 3 stars that they had, whether it was relying on like a really good Yuto Nagatomo who was playing for Inter Milan at the time, a really good Keisuke Honda, or a really good Shinji Kagawa to just dominate for them and try to be the only points of attack for this Japan side. Instead, we highlighted that the reason why they found good late success in qualification was they let go of that. They completely relied on team chemistry, teamwork, combination play, and interchange amongst everybody. No longer were they relying on a single star, because when you look at the squad, they really don't have a shining standout out on that pitch. So no longer are they relying on that. Instead, they're playing a lot more free-flowing style of football. Something where every player has a role to play and to work for, and they can let their technique truly shine, not just to penetrate themselves, but for each other, man. And I think that's going to be a big point of contention for Japan on whether they are successful or not, is can they fully unlock that teamwork style of play that they've recently implemented? Because if they can, I think Japan can have something to say in this group.
I think when it comes to international football, Japan has a chance here to be, and just hear me out, the Brighton of international football.
There it is.
I think it's funny because this is the perfect segue into player analysis. We have ourselves a Brighton player with Mitoma, who's been doing incredible wonders for this Brighton team, starting and I believe even scoring today in the Carabao Cup game for Brighton. This kid is only 21 years old. Yeah. He's a bright future prospect for Japan, but this translates to the rest of the team completely, man. There's a lot of players here that are playing like not the top teams in Europe, not like the top 10, but at these like more low-key clubs, like the Brighton of every single league.
Yeah, Freiburg in Germany.
Yeah. Literally the same type of concept. And so it's interesting to see because there's actually some level of depth here. You have a lot of options that you can go with. There's a prominent role here that Japan's coach Moriyasu will be dictating and trying to figure out how's he going to beat these opposing defenses with the options that he has at hand. Mitoma might end up getting the start, man. And it's crazy because he's so young, in my opinion, and still trying to find his footing in the Premier League, getting a few starts here and there and not becoming one of Zerbi's favorites. It's just crazy to see because Japan, I don't know, I feel like they haven't had this sort of prominence in the past, and they're coming into this tournament now with more reasons to be looked at as a dangerous team.
I've always heard that. I've always heard, oh, Japan, watch out. They're a
Yes.
technical team. I'm like, okay, what does that mean? I don't care if they're all technical. Like, I want to see results.
Cool jerseys. That's it.
Yeah,
they got dope jerseys.
That samurai blue. Sure,
Yes.
it looks pretty on that pitch, but are they scoring goals? Are they winning games? Sure, in Asia they are, but I want to see it at a World Cup stage, and that's why I said at the beginning, I'm always left a little frustrated with this team. But you're absolutely right. With the rise of, for example, players like Mitoma, we've seen other players offensively not just be technical, but be true offensive threats, not just for the Japanese team, but with their European clubs. I'm going to highlight two players right now who both play on the wing for Japan. Right now, I think probably the most in-forward Japanese player from an offensive perspective, Junya Ito, the guy who plays in France, who had a very good season in Belgium last year. When you see this guy play, man, he's all flair. A true creator, an incredible penetrator. But what I love about Ito is that he embodies the perfect idea of what you would imagine a good Japanese player would be. He's got the craftiness of like a Keisuke Honda, but he's got that killer passing ability of Shinji Kagawa. And so you couple that together, and I think you get probably one of the better and deadliest offensive weapons that Japan have had in a while. Because usually Japan always lack with their offensive players. Maybe they're too crafty and they can't make that decisive pass.
Yeah.
And they're very good on the ball and they're good on one, two short passing, but they're not good with that final through ball or that final cross to actually score a goal. But when I see Ito play, I see that a little bit of European talent actually shine through because he couples that true talent on the ball with an actual killer mentality. So that actually gets me really excited. And then it doesn't end there. If you go on the other side for Japan on the left, and who I think is going to start, it's going to be either between Takumi Minamino or Takefusa Kubo.
Oh, yeah.
Two players right now plying their trade in elite leagues right now in Europe. Minamino playing for Monaco right now. I think he's in rotation, but Kubo is a for sure rotative starter for Real Sociedad right now at 21 years of age.
And I feel like he's been there like 5 years already.
I
man.
know, bro. Yeah, that's so true. Yeah, he went to Spain. I think he was like 17 or some shit.
Man. Yeah, he's been on the lookout for a long time now. Other names I would mention is the midfielder Endo.
Yes.
Also really worth mentioning, and the Sporting CP.
Morita's been a revelation this year for Sporting, man. Again, kind of actually similar to Mitoma in the sense that so good on the ball, but he's able to apply that kind of craftiness to his play. He doesn't make any stupid decisions. He's not going to be too offensive for you, but what he is really good at is just keeping that ball moving. And what did we say the biggest point of positive contention for Japan being successful? It's going to be that fluidity, that teamwork. And if you have a guy like Morita starting in the center of the park for Japan, he's just going to add to it. You give him the ball, he's just going to immediately rotate it out. He's going to immediately look for a run, immediately drop it off, immediately make a run. That's what this Japan team does. They work for each other, and they are so fluid. And a guy like Morita just exemplifies that.
Yeah, it's funny because we're describing all these players, and they're all very young for the most part,
That's
like
true.
under 24 years of age. But what's dope is that they almost have, it's almost like this is a camp, and they got their camp counselors, and there's two players on this team that I think are going to be starting for Japan that are part of the old guard, part of the guys that saw Kagawa and Honda play, man. And I think that will actually be exemplified in the back line with Nagatomo, man, who's, I think, about 36 years old now, bro.
Yeah.
He's been starting in that left back position for years, bro.
Yeah.
For years. And likewise, at center back, Yoshida, bro. Yoshida, also a vet, man. Gonna be overseeing these kids, bro. They're just gonna stay back and they're gonna let the kids play up front, man. But they'll take care of business, they'll handle the taxes, they'll pay the bills off and everything. And it's a beautiful thing to see because it makes for a really good mix. It makes for a positive mix. A little bit of leadership and reliance at the back. There's a question of their age because they are up there, man. And it is a sign that Japan really doesn't have any other options either.
Yeah.
But I'm trying to look at it a little bit more optimistically because there is a lot of good to this Japanese team and what they could potentially do. My biggest fear, though, is that almost all of it is potential. A lot of these guys aren't really truly fulfilled in the sense of like Minamino, man. I've been waiting for him to pop off ever since his Salzburg days, man. He had a masterclass of a match against Liverpool in that RB Salzburg shirt, which then led to him getting bought by Liverpool. And he just was never able to match that, man. Never able to match that energy, that production. Yes, he was very clinical, important for them, especially in like the Carabao Cup and the FA Cup and the build-up to those finals. Like he was really a big piece of that, scoring really important goals. But he could never really do it in those Premier League games, eventually getting sold off to Monaco.
Yeah.
And it's kind of been a bit of the same thing there. He's got a couple of goals and assists to his name right now, but in terms of how many minutes he gets and how much opportunity he gets, he doesn't really see much output for what you would expect. And I think that kind of goes for a lot of these guys, where the idea is that there is a lot of talent there. There's a lot that can be molded, but it might be almost too raw right now. 2026 might be the time for them to fully shine. That's a concern I have because if we're looking at a team that's going to face off against Germany and Spain, bro, they're going to need absolute 100% production and fulfillment from every single position.
Right.
Can they do it, bro? I don't know, but the potential is there. The potential is there, which is the optimistic thing to look at.
Absolutely. I think mathematically the output definitely is not there. You already said it. Minamino is not a goal scorer. Not the way that we really thought he would pan out to be. You could say the same thing about Kubo. Kubo's an incredible player, and honestly, I think he's really kind of grown into himself at Real Sociedad. But in a weird way, and I don't know how else to put this, I think it works for Japan specifically.
Okay.
Specifically for Japan, because the way that they set up, it's almost as if they know that they're not clinical. Because basically what Moriyasu does is he basically just has one striker and 5 midfielders out there.
That's true.
Because he knows, like, look, I can't have an out-and-out winger because we don't have an out-and-out winger that's going to score for us. I can't trust my number 9 to score because, I mean, being realistic here, Japan's strikers are not good. Like, they're just straight up not good or clinical whatsoever. So what does Moriyasu do? Well, he puts as much midfield prowess as he possibly can to basically where he's just hoping to do is he's leaving it down to probability.
Damn,
he's going to leave it down to, all right, Kubo's going to get at least 2 shots. I'm hoping he's going to make 1 out of the 3 group stage games. Then I'm going to rotate in Minamino. I just need him to score 1 out of those 3 group stage games. Do you see what I'm saying? It's more of like you just got to shoot. You just got to keep shooting, and eventually the skill might fall for you. Because I agree. I think the potential is there. But again, what's weird is I think Moriyasu knows how to kind of handle it. I think he's handling it really, really well because if I'm being honest, even with these skillful players, I don't think they should actually be playing as well as they are. So the fact that they're playing at a pretty high level with this squad actually gives me a little bit of hope that, hey, look, this actually might work against teams like Germany and Spain, teams who are themselves in sort of a rebuild stage, bro. Let's not forget that. Like, Spain and Germany are no longer the dynasties that they once were. Yes, I think they're a lot further along in their development than, let's say, Japan is, but there's some weaknesses in both German and Spanish teams. And if Japan can just get a little lucky and use that probability aspect that I think Moriyasu is going to go with, hey, man, I do actually think Japan have a good shout here, bro.
Yeah, I mean, that's a great point because, dude, I remember during qualifying and I would look at, like, the score sheet and just see who got the goal today. There was never any consistency with Japan, bro. It'd be the most random players scoring like throughout the whole qualification cycle. Like there wasn't one guy that got over like 5 goals or something because it was just whoever got the opportunity and ended up getting the goal. It was random, bro. But it's because of that system that the coach has in place. And then another thing I will point out is that I remember watching a game where Japan played against, I think it was a much weaker team in their group, which I think was Oman.
Yeah.
And that whole match, bro, Japan generated opportunities like no other, man. They were like a fast food chain during 6 p.m. dinner time.
Dishing out burgers,
bro. They were generating so many offensive opportunities, but there was absolutely zero finishing that specific game. And I remember a concern of mine kind of like the seed was planted that day where I was like, shit, man. Like, they're struggling to finish here. against like a team like Oman, right?
Yeah.
But on the positive side, bro, they got like 20 fucking chances. They had
Right.
so many opportunities. Mina was so active that game, but he just couldn't get it right. Ito was on top of the ball as well, trying to get his goddamn goal, but he just couldn't. But still, the results stayed. The results stayed where they only ended up getting a point out of that match, despite them being vastly the better squad. And I'm thinking, bro, if Japan wants any hope of doing well in the World Cup, they got to fix that part up. They have to.
Yeah.
Going up against a German and Spanish team that, regardless of what state they're in, is still quality, they'll have their opportunities. And that's one thing I can say about this Japanese team is that no matter who they play, they will generate opportunities, bro.
Yep.
They're like a risk-free offensive team. They will figure out a way to generate a shot at goal. But, man, I don't know if I have the confidence in one single guy, but maybe it's more about, like you said, having the confidence in them as a whole unit.
Yeah.
One of them, probability-wise, will get the goal.
Exactly. But you're spot on because, yes, that is how I think Moriyasu is going to approach this, and how he has been approaching it for Japan recently. But that is the downside. Because there is a chance that by going with that approach that they actually don't score, right? And that they're just off and they just can't get anybody to actually finish. The only positive I have to say about that is Japan have the back line to always keep it tight. So if they're playing against a Germany or a Spain and they can at least get a draw, it's actually not that bad of a result, man.
Yeah.
Now, if it comes down to it's 1-0 and they need a goal, then that's going to be tough to see. If they get like 15 shots and they just all go straight to the keeper, that's going to be tough to see. But if they can always keep it tight, which they can, then I think no matter what, Japan's going to have a genuine chance, bro.
With both Spain and Germany, a lot of people are focusing in on the Spain-Germany match that's going to happen in the group, but it won't be that matchup that decides the outlook of the group, because both of those teams are going to go into Group E thinking the one place where we're going to get points is Costa Rica and Japan. They're going to go in thinking that that's where they're going to have to get the points no matter what happens in that Germany-Spain match, but I think there's an element of surprise here. Japan genuinely has a shot at getting 3 points against them as well.
Yep.
So the group just got tougher, bro.
Dude, it really did.
The group just got tougher. If anything, I think it's no question for me that Costa Rica will be getting fourth in this group, bro, because all the other teams are looking so strong.
They're too strong.
But when I look at Japan, I do think there's a shot. There's a shot here. Ultimately, though, man, I don't see it.
Okay.
I don't see it.
Okay.
I don't see it. I've tried to be optimistic. I tried to side with that Japanese optimism, but I don't see it. I don't see it. I think Spain and Germany are too strong, man. They're too strong, and it's still not Japan's time to be able to make a statement like that. With a little bit more development, a little bit more time to mold into their full potential, Japan will be a much more dangerous force come 2026.
I'm falling for it again.
Whoa.
As the same way I did in 2014. I actually have a lot of belief in this Japanese
Whoa.
side. Yeah.
Whoa.
The way that they're playing football is, I don't think can go unnoticed.
They beat the U.S.
And they ran them. They
Mollywopped.
ran the U.S., dude. The U.S. literally could not string together more than 3 passes. And when Japan had the ball, the USA could not catch up to them. And we had Tyler Adams out on that pitch. And that's a scary thought. That's very scary that Japan, when they're playing at their very best, can be untouchable at times. But that's kind of what I'm getting at. This style of football that Moriyasu has injected into this Japanese team, I think actually gives the final form of what Japan's all about. It's not about stars for Japan. It's about using every single player's technique, which is very high, and working for each other. We kind of saw it against Belgium, and I think we're going to fully see it here in 2022. I have a little inkling of an idea that Spain or Germany, one of them is going to falter here. There has to be one surprise, and out of all the 8 groups, there has to be a surprise. I think it is clear for most pundits, and I mean, hell, even for me, that Spain and Germany are the clear favorites to get out of this group. I'm not going to deny that. But this Japanese team actually has something special. It's all potential. I understand that. But I don't think it's that hard for them to actually fulfill it. I really don't think it is. If it was completely out of reach, then I would say, yeah, maybe give it 4 more years. But I think this Japanese side is very close to actually maximizing their full potential. And all they need to do is just do it at least once or twice out of these 3 games. Just once.
Beat Costa Rica and do it once against either one of those two.
Exactly.
Damn.
Exactly. You just need one big win against either Spain or Germany, and that team that they beat might end up in 3rd place. So hopefully I at least see a competitive Japan side and not one that just completely falters out like it did in 2014. But I'm going to go ahead and say it right here, right now. I have Japan getting out of this group.
Wow.
I do.
But which team falls out then?
I think it's going to be Germany.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Okay.
And my German analysis, I said Germany's like Spain in 2018. They're just not far enough in their development. Germany in 4 years might be a complete team. Right now, that is not that German side. I already said it in the German analysis. Go watch that video.
Link will be in the description below.
Link will be in the description below. I think Spain's too far in their advancement.
Okay.
They have a lot of good pieces, and Enrique set them up really well. They had a very good Euros, whereas Germany, ultimately did not, and Germany had a obviously abysmal 2018. This is a young Germany we're seeing who obviously have good talent. That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying as a team, I think Japan can expose that. I think Japan as a whole has the opportunity here to take down a weak and unexpecting German side. So for all those reasons, I have Japan getting out of this group with Spain, actually.
That'd be one of the biggest achievements for AFC football, man.
Yeah.
If they were able to do that in the modern era, man, to take out one of these two teams. And then from then on, bro, they can do anything in the round of 16 if they did that in the group stage. They'll be one of those teams, kind of like a Canada type of effect. Like, once you make it out of the group stage, you're in. You're in. You have a shot, man. You really do. I'm not against seeing this Japanese team succeed. I think I'm just still part of that. Honestly, I'm like an old man. And you know that quote about football is a game played between 22 players, 11 players on each side of the pitch, and every single time the Germans end up winning.
Damn.
I just don't think I can see Japan ending that yet.
Yeah.
I just don't think I can. And that is Japan, folks. Make sure to comment, like, and subscribe, and let us know. What do you think about this Japanese team? Are they capable of getting out of this group, man? Because I would love to see it. I really would. Lots to look forward to as the World Cup gets closer. We still have a few more deep dives to go, so make sure to subscribe to us, and we'll see you guys soon. Peace. Guys.